it. Um, so Corey and I actually met through another real estate contact, commercial contact. Um, and I guess it just kind of gives the lifelong lesson of kind of marketing and networking of, you know, connecting with really the real connection is outside of real estate. It's just connecting with people that are like-minded, people that you have a natural connection with. I think I'm an ex-runner. Corey's a up and coming runner, or
Well,
I'm part
I'm
of
still a
running.
runner, I think. I'm a runner.
Um, and even just like a quick note, I recently, as of last week, Alan and I, my partner, hosted a bunch of real estate professionals at a off-site kind of retreat for the day. And you always hear about like when
Excited.
you do things that are like, outside of the box, the impact they have.
Exactly.
So this was, hugely successful. So for all of us as real estate professionals trying to do something a little bit outside the box, even some sort of like events, some sort of experience. We all know in today's world, a lot of people are more into experiences than, materialistic, possessions. So just keep that in mind. Um, Corey, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Okay.
Um, give a little background, then I'll say a quick note and we'll jump right in.
Okay. Um, First of all, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. My name is Cory Zelnik, and I am a retail leasing broker. I rent stores for a living. That's my bumper sticker. But the reality is, I've been doing this for over 35 years. I'm in real estate, in retail real estate, completely every aspect I've touched upon. Started out day one, literally walking the streets for $250 a week, suit and tie, because that's what we did back in the day, a clipboard in my hand, and walked up and down avenues and took notes of storefronts, what was for rent, what was emptying, what was a new tenant, kept track of all of that stuff, and that's back in 1986. Fast forward through my career, I stepped out of the real estate brokerage business for a time, and worked in-house for CVS Pharmacy. At the time, in 93, they had no stores in the New York City marketplace. They were looking to hire a real estate director to expand them in and about the boroughs of New York. I was fortunate enough to get that job, and I stayed with them for 3 years. And the only reason why I was cut off at 3 years is because back then they were a small company of only 1,100 stores, and now they have about 10,000. But they took new markets very, very slowly. So we identified about 15 stores. They wanted to build them. A couple of them were ground up developments in the outer boroughs. So they wanted to build the stores. They wanted to open the stores and see how they performed. And while I was, for lack of a better term, waiting around, I came across a gentleman. His name is Jeff Winnick. Some of you may know him. And Jeff and I became fast friends and partners. And over a 10-year period, we rolled out about 250 Dwayne Reed drugstores in and about in and about the city. I was fortunate. And upon leaving CVS, I thanked my bosses. They understood why I was leaving, and I thanked them for what I call a master's degree in corporate retail real estate, and was able to transition that into my business with Jeff. And we did what we did with Dwayne Reed. Was very fortunate. Jeff and I again were partners for 10 years, and as they say, or at least as the legal documents say, we had philosophical differences. And I went out on my own over 18 years ago. And I have my business, Zelnik and Company, and we continue to do retail leasing. I do landlord representation. I do tenant representation. At this stage, I'm probably close to 50-50. When I first started the company, I was probably 75-25 landlord landlord rep. I represent and still do for over 24 years one of the largest independent landlords here in New York City. His name is Lloyd Goldman. Some of you may or may not be familiar with him, but he and his family have a very large portfolio of apartments. I believe their apartment portfolio is north of 20,000 units throughout the city. And along with that, they have about 1,000 retail spaces at the base of a
Oh,
whole
I'm sorry.
host,
What were you saying?
I'm sorry, a whole host of those buildings.
Yes, yes. Yes, yes, thank you. That's when I said, oh, I gotta go get my eyes checked.
Hello.
Are you guys
I
seeing
said,
that?
you get when you get to
Yeah.
start.
All right, there she
Gone
goes.
on mute.
She just
Really.
muted. Anyway, I everything I do is retail related. I love the business. I again currently have the company. I invest and own retail properties, small limited partners, general partnerships. I continue to represent landlords. I continue to represent tenants. So I think that part of this discussion that Andrew brought me to was to talk to everyone here, number one, about retail for sure, but different perspectives on retail and how to look at it and the things that you guys are all involved with on a day-to-day basis, or maybe not on a day-to-day basis as it relates to the retail portions of your properties. So I hope that gives you a little bit about me, and we'll get talking when Andrew gives me the signal. And I love taking questions along the way, so please don't hesitate. Go ahead, Andrew. You're muted, Andrew.
Yep. So you're certainly well qualified. We appreciate you joining. Just a quick background on myself. We have a residential commercial transactional firm, obviously representing buyers and sellers, co-ops, condos, townhouses, uh, commercial purchase sale, commercial leasing, financing, estate planning. So yes, please bring your questions. And just the audience is managing agents, residential, commercial brokers, some former clients. So let's jump into it. I think retail leasing and retail space, there's a lot of, unknown, especially with, the market over the last few years. So I guess what are some things to keep in mind, about a retail space, whether you're a managing agent and there's a co-op or a condo with retail space, whether you're a residential broker, that, is representing a building or that maybe gets an opportunity to speak to a retail space, or maybe, to bring somebody in like you to help quarterback is probably, the smarter play, but give us a little background.
So I thought about this a little bit when you gave me a sense of what the audience might be like, and so I have my managing agent conversation. I have my resi broker conversation, which they may not love, and I say that with a tongue in cheek a little bit. And then I have my sort of banker's thought process. But broadly speaking, I think what's most important to appreciate about retail is that number one, it's very important to the value of a property. Number two, it's the prettiest girl at the dance, quite frankly, in the real estate world today. So it's very important to stay focused on it. And then number three, you have to keep in mind what the bigger picture looks like. Now, I think that most of you operate in these buildings and you have retail at the base of the property. There's a lot of income that could be derived from these things. And again, I don't know everybody's building that's listening in
I
today.
so well.
And hi, Rose. Some of them and some of the buildings have more value than others, but there is income to be derived. So I think when I was thinking about this from the managing agent perspective, I don't know, and I don't know that managing agents, and I say this with all due respect, approach it from a broad enough perspective. And what do I mean? Oftentimes, and this is just from experience, from what I hear, the managing agent finds out the space is coming available. And so maybe they start to call some broker friends, or brokers call them and they get information, and the space is 1,000 feet or it's 2,000 square feet and you want X dollars in rent and things like that, which is great and it's informative. But I think a managing agent can take a larger role in this game by getting ahead of things. And what do I mean? You all have the rent rolls of your properties, okay? And if you're at the base of condos and co-ops, you just have the commercial rent roll. Take a look, and again, some of this comes into play because retail is really valuable today. When are those leases expiring? Don't look, try to get ahead of it so that you don't find out it's expiring in 2 months. A lot of retail takes a lot of thought and a lot of planning. So if your existing retailer has a lease that's expiring in 6, 9, 12 months, it's time to start focusing on that. Good tenant, solid citizen. you want to keep him in the building, start getting involved with the discussion to renew him. Because why not? He's been there 10 years. He's paid rent on time, not looking to kick somebody to the street. You won't have downtime. And I say this against myself, you probably won't have brokerage fees. Keep that tenant. Conversely, 6 to 9 months out, a year out, maybe they don't want to stay. Maybe they want to relocate, big or smaller, or they're out of business, whatever the case may be. Now is the time to start assessing your property and its space and its value. Sorry, something's going on my machine. Apologies. And so I think that it's important that managing agents, and I say this to owners too, but you guys are all an extension of the owners you represent, but get ahead of it and look at it and go and research your market. And everybody's motivated by different things. And quite frankly, I don't know how everyone gets paid on the screen. I'm a broker, so I'm used to commissions and things like that. But I think that if there's added value, there's added bonus to you guys individually and certainly to your owners. But if you get ahead of this and start planning and talking to the brokerage community, see what's going on in your neighborhood. And by the way, the neighborhood is usually 2 or 3 blocks south, 2 or 3 blocks north. That makes up your sub-market. And start to investigate and get proactive in what's happening. You can create real value, number one. Number two, you may, in fact, provide great upgrade aesthetically, because clearly it's important, certainly at the base of the co-ops and the condos, and just sort of know your rules and regs when you go out there. And what I mean on that is, don't go out looking for food users, for example, with cooking when you know the building won't accept it. Period. The end. Don't waste your time. But I think most importantly, with the early start, is just really be out there. And just as an aside, things that come out of my mouth will unintentionally, but I can't help it, be pro broker. And there's a reason for it, because I think that the managing agent community, from experience, is sometimes in the way of the brokerage community, when I think they really should be on a sort of same path, to the point where 1 and 1 make 3, and they should work together. So I think it's early studies of your market, early studies of the availability of the space, really, really will create a tremendous amount of value. And I think that's really very important to keep in mind.
I think a lot of it's like, issue spotting, right, Cory?
I'm
I
sorry?
get a lot of it's issue spotting, right? I'll have clients reach out to me asking accounting questions, almost daily. And you want to be able to carry the conversation, float the conversation, for a minute or two, but then be confident enough to, hey, I have a team, let me loop them in, let me connect you with someone who's an expert. And also identifying when, instead of someone asking you a question where you can, see issues come up or see an opportunity for you to add value, but, not necessarily being the complete expert, but being able to say, hey, I even just be transparent. Hey, I just, listened on a webinar with a leasing expert, and he brought up some points. Let's have a discussion on this.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's all, and that's all part of that thinking early and seeing what's going on out there. And what'll happen is, and again, this is not self-promotion, right? Reach out to a broker that you're comfortable with, who's in the retail space, because they'll make you aware of what's going on. Again, most importantly, what the value of your space is. If you're at the tail end of an existing lease, more likely than not, there's more value in that space today than there was 10 years ago when that original lease was signed. So be aware of those things, and be aware of also who's in the marketplace. A good broker will tell you who's out there looking. And so these are some of the things that you can take into consideration as a very proactive managing agent, right? Your job is to report back to ownership. And you can say, hey, I've done some research. This is what's going on out there. And I constantly say this because it's the truth. There's tremendous value add. And while I don't think a lot of brokers are managing agent friendly. And again, that's with respect to you guys. But I know we are, and I know a handful of people that will welcome. You can pick up the phone and call me any day. You text me any day, I will answer any questions. I'm an open book. I love to share. I love to provide information, and maybe it'll lead to something down the road, or maybe it won't, but hopefully it helps you in your day to day and what your responsibilities are in your property. And again, things are, when you look at what's gone on internally, again, you all keep a book and track records of things, not just rent, but where were problems? What were the problem? We had a great tenant, but we had these problems the last 10 years. How do we avoid them going forward? And I think those are things to keep in mind. Stepping back from a pure research perspective, but looking at your space and understanding your market, then you want to focus on who are my better tenants. Okay, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to understand to get a good, clean, dry bank to come take your space. They add tremendous value to your property, where you probably aren't worried about drawing so much foot traffic that maybe a Starbucks might bring. Starbucks is great credit, but they may bring the traffic you don't want. Whereas a bank is clean and dry. Great credit. They pay big rents. You want to have that type of use in your building if you get that opportunity. Separate and apart. And again, real estate 101, as we all know, location, location, location. There may be a property that you'd love to have a Starbucks. Do you know who the Starbucks rep is? Can you reach out to them, or should you reach out to the brokerage community and find out who is repping Starbucks and people of that ilk? Because, as I said earlier, there's so much going on in the retail sector today that you almost can't help but find opportunity. I'm speaking broadly because I don't know everybody's properties and where everything is located, but I will tell you that almost everybody here who has a property that has retail, there's hidden value. And really digging into it is what will help you most in extracting that value. Excuse me one second. For my banker friends that may be on the call, you guys know cap rates, credit, things like that. There's tremendous value when we talk about a Starbucks. I had a history of doing the Dwayne Reeds and the CVSs. These were tremendous value adds to owners of properties, and the lending community always found these things favorable. And I think that it's important where the bankers and the managing agents and brokers all come together is who's the best tenant for the space with the best qualifications that allow a landlord owner to go out and refi, right? The co-ops and the condos, there's ownership behind that. Co-op, you have the shares are held by a group or the whole unit. I don't know all the sciences of that, but they can go out and refi too and pull out capital. The lending community is tight today, and the bankers can speak to that if they like. And I get that, but there's lending to be done for quality tenants. So I think it's important to keep that in mind. Again, I can't reiterate it enough that there is so much value, period, in retail, and it really needs to be kept in mind as you approach all of these things. Jumping over to my resi friends, resi broker friends that may be listening in here, I say it with a smile, and I know this is a little bit of a hard pill to swallow. Retail leasing, it's not rocket science. I promise you it's not rocket science, but it's a process, and it's sometimes a long process. And I've had too much experience with resi brokers who just want their hands in the mix. I know you want to make money. We all want to make money. We're commission driven, but I'll give you food for thought on something. When you come across that guy who's buying the $5 million or $10 million apartment, and he says his wife or his husband or somebody wants to open a store and you have a lead, bring it to a retail broker who you're friendly with, who you may know, lock up a discussion on a referral fee, and respectfully, get out of the way. Get out of the way. And go sell more apartments and make a lot of money and know that you gave it confidently to a good retail broker who will help you make money. The retail leasing process is different, and again, don't hate me, than deciding, how we decorate this room or how we design the bathroom. The leasing process, in the short run, a short and quick leasing deal is usually in the vicinity of 3 to 4 months. A bigger deal, something like some of the drugstore deals I've done, the bank deals I've done, even some of my Panda Express deals that I do on a regular basis, take 6, 9, 12 months to get done. Again, none of it's brain surgery, but it's a process. There's design, there's configuration, because they're building out these retail boxes to make money. And so they sign a lease, they make a 10-year commitment. The day they sign the lease, they are committed and obligated at a minimum of 10 years. And so they're going to go through a design process. We do, all the people that I've mentioned, and most specifically Panda Express, they're very hands-on. They'll design and redesign a store. And by the way, they have 2,800 stores. They will redesign every single location, because they're all not square boxes, at least 4 times before they internally approve it. And all of that is part of this process. And again, I say this with no offense to the resi brokers. Sort of your retail broker friend, he's got it or she's got it. Sign yourself up for a referral and let them handle your tenant, and you'll make money. But don't waste your time on it. Don't try to start figuring it out. Go make other money in the area that you're an expert in. Go sell the apartments. And so again, I'm not trying to make friends and influence people. It's just an experience thing that the resi brokers, they get nervous about their money and they want to get in there, but it's a process and they're not used to the time frame, the timing of that process. Just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, we do that. I mean, all the time. There's also reputational risks, right? It sounds great. You see the dollar sign, and that person that referred you the deal, now they're not going to potentially send resi deals because of, an issue with this. So there's accountability and listen, if it's not a square peg, it doesn't always have to be a square peg in a square hole, but it creates so much more work and effort, especially as hopefully the market's getting busier for all of us. There's less room for that. I get it when the market's miserable, like, hey, maybe you have time to research it. Maybe you have time to educate yourself. But with the market moving, there's no time for that. Your client can lose a deal.
Yeah. And I've had, get from experience more times than not. And no one does it intentionally. I get that. I know that, but they wind up getting in the way. And there is a certain flow and a sort of pattern to how you go about processing and working through a retail leasing thing. Now, look, is it sometimes when someone says, "Oh, my cousin just wants to open up a 400 square foot coffee shop," and da, da, da. Yeah, you figure that stuff out. But generally speaking, we know what we're doing, just like what you're doing. So we should keep those two things separate and apart. And I've written. And I don't know why, maybe it was a change of my overall attitude since I started my own company and things like that. But I have written, I don't know, 50, 100 referral checks. I love doing it. I love taking in the business and I love writing the check. And people get that and they appreciate it. The younger ones, not so much because they haven't experienced it. But I love the referral business, right? You and I have talked about it. You send me somebody, I talk to them. Something's going to happen, on this one. Something may not happen, but the referrals are huge. I love taking the resi referrals, but the one thing I did not do, right, and it's just a side thing, little tongue in cheek, but not tongue in cheek, is that Douglas Elliman decided to expand their commercial brokerage division. Okay, they brought somebody on, and he asked me to go join them, and his pitch to me was, "Well, we got 300 brokers upstairs and all those referrals." That's a little too much. That's a little too much. It's not a true way to make a living. It's a nice adjunct thing, and I love doing it the way I do it. But Rezi, no offense, I love all you guys. Let's try to work together. But just if you understand my approach, I hope you can appreciate it a little bit. Um, I can't see if any questions come up or not.
Yeah, there's any recommendation or training for someone looking to get into commercial real estate?
Yeah,
Hiring, no.
I think that, you know, if you have the time, I would find someone like a mentor who will spend, you can almost intern with. You can almost do it part-time. If you're doing something else and you want to just try to learn the business a little bit, a mentorship would be huge. You come around, if you were sitting in my office, just sort of being around it. Because what I have found over all of the years is that our business is not that technical. And so I have 5 young brokers. I have a team of 8 brokers, and 5 of them are young. A couple out of school for a couple of years, one just out of school. And what we do is we don't go through a training manual. I spend an hour at least 3 times a week with them, just talking about situations, because it's really, very much a learn as you go business. Years ago, it was there's your desk, there's your phone, good luck. Now we are, in a different time, and we're more open to the share and the discuss. And so that's how I go about training, and I say it in quotes, my guys and girls. We sit and we talk about situations. And the one aspect I did was I tried to control it a little bit in that we talked about offer. You go from offers or LOIs in our business from a local tenant that is one page. I want to pay this rent. I need this much free time, blah, blah. But then you get to LOIs with larger corporations, Panda, Chase, etc. Their LOIs are 14 pages. Okay. Our leases are usually in the vicinity of 75 and 100 pages long, also making the process very, very long. So in my training, I try to control them because they all get excited. They want to know about the end. I try to walk them through the paces. And what we do is we just sort of take a live LOI and we talk it through. We take a live Panda Express lease and we work through it situationally. And that's how I educate it. So to someone who wants to try to learn the business a little bit, I'd say go find someone, go hang around the retail leasing firm if you really want to get a feel for it. And someone will talk to you about it and let you hang around because you're sort of no harm, no foul, and maybe you'll learn something. It's really the best way to do that if you can afford the time.
We have a few questions coming in. What tech or trends do you think will change retail operations in New York City?
Tech, well, what we've seen tech-wise is from a pure retail perspective, certain things in terms of manpower in the stores, certain technologies have allowed, like Chipotle, about 6 months ago, 8 months ago, I forget what it is, they came up with they invested in a robot that will chop and pound their avocados every day. Okay, a little bit of a technology thing. So that costs somebody a job, but that's that's a little sort of retail technology. Physically, they have what are Chipotle also, but a lot of the retail chains in their drive-through locations, technology is such that you order on your app, you drive up to a window, you get your dinner or your lunch or whatever it is. Again, taking away body count, staff and staff. The basic technology that's really enhanced retail, I think we've all experienced to date, is the ordering app, where you order your meal and then you can walk to if you don't DoorDash it or Grubhub it, but you pre-order your meal, you walk in, it's sitting there and you're out. So some of that technology has helped a lot of the retailers. So there's all kinds of things in that regard. Separately, technology from a research perspective, as brokers and real estate advisors, the software has become endless. We have Placer AI, we have Buxton, and I know they're just names to a lot of you, but these are software programs that give me traffic, that will give me a traffic count in Tennessee if I have a retail, because I do some national work. So I can get that. I can get peer sales. I go out with Panda. We have data on Chipotle, McDonald's, Burger King, all of their QSR quick service restaurant competitors. So that type of technology. I hope that answers the question a little bit.
Yeah, and but I don't know if you deal with this as much as a residential broker when exclusive brokers don't respond to calls or emails.
Well, pardon my French, but they're assholes because they have, if you're an exclusive broker in whatever area of this business, you have a responsibility to the person or entity that hired you. Why would you not respond? And sometimes if it's a listing broker and you can't get the senior broker and you just need some basic listing information, go to the bottom of the list because that young kid will answer you. He'll tell you the size and the rent, and maybe that helps you. But if you have to go further, sometimes, depending on the situation, sometimes you got to reach up the ladder and you got to call people and get people to pay attention. It's a shitty thing. I never understood it. One of my brokers last week called us, almost accidentally, because it turned out that way, got a senior level broker on the phone and he started asking questions about a property. And the guy's like, I don't have time for this, and literally hung up on him. Now, I know almost every president of every company in the city, but I wasn't about to call somebody over that. I told my broker to call the junior broker, get his basic information, but it's a shitty thing. I wish I could define, how to do and what to do, but those are some of my basic
Yeah.
cheats for that.
Yeah. What kind of referral fees do you pay?
Um,
Is there a
we,
no
we
industry norm?
Yeah, no, we go anywhere, from 20 to 50. It really depends. It's situational, there's the soft lead, there's the hard lead, there's this is my guy, So I'm all wide open to that. I welcome the discussion. We talk it through, and my goal is to make everybody comfortable. So it's worth my while to put it together, and it's worth your while to bring me that lead.
Okay. If somebody wants to kind of attack the corporate tenant world, meaning, the Pandas and the Dwayne Reeds, is there some sort of roadmap? Any suggestions to go after those kinds of tenants, or just networking, networking, networking?
Well, it's the networking part, but it's a grind. It's a grind. You have to constantly reach out to them. Going back to the technology question, you'd be surprised how many of these people communicate via Instagram, LinkedIn, make connections. You got to get in there. And I think that the key thing to do when you're trying to make that move is don't get on the phone and say, hey, Mr. Smith, I got a space for you. Get on the phone and try to engage them. Hey, I saw you have an East Coast expansion going on. I'd love to learn more about it. Get them talking. Be a great listener, and then figure out how you could possibly service them. A great intro, or not an intro, but a way to try to get yourself in there. These are big companies, you see Panda Express. I use Panda Express; it's always on my brain. But if you see Panda Express opens up a store, since Instagram Panda Express or LinkedIn, the head of real estate at Panda Express. Hey, I saw you just opened up a new store over in Long Island City. Congratulations and wish you all the best. What are your thoughts for further growth? And you'd be surprised at the type of feedback you get. Now, you do that with Panda Express and it's New York City, they'll respond to you and they'll tell you to call Cory Zelnik because that's what I do. But in terms of breaking through, don't, I know we all sell. We're salespeople, but do it without selling. Communicate, talk to them, establish a rapport to the best of your abilities by engaging them for what they have to say, not what you have to say. What you have to say, if you get past it, there'll be plenty of opportunity. After they tell you about their new store expansion, they're going to say to you, so tell me a little bit more about you. And then you get into your history and things like that. And by the way, be surprised how many of these guys respect the fact that you say to them, hey, I'm just trying to crack the code. I'm in the business a year, wanted to get in. And then what you do, if you're smart as an independent broker, if you can, you say, hey, you start talking in the we. We have a team. We have marketing. We do this. and this is what we can do for you. So you listen to what they have to say, and to the best, and everyone has different situations, but to the best of your ability, take the I, me out of the equation and be them and us. And it's important. There's an old catchphrase that says there's no I in team. And so use that. Use it. I did have one wise guy, by the way, when I said there's no I in team. He came back one day and said, but there is me. So anyway,
That's an old joke, Corey, an old
I know,
joke.
I know.
Um, but yeah, you got to play the long game, right? And be patient, you know. Ship.
Hey, I spoke, informed, and worked with Panda Express for 8 years before they signed the first lease. Did I speak to them every single day? Absolutely not. But they got quarterly reports from me. They were kept aware of the market. They have a hands-on, they're a privately held company. They have a hands-on CEO who would be in New York and randomly send me pictures of a store for rent. I keep them informed. And then when it came time, then we hit it. I'm doing work for Panda now for over 18 years.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Congrats. Two more questions and we'll wrap up. Any
Okay.
experience with marijuana dispensaries?
Yes, I've had a variety of that experience. Um, when the pandemic hit, and a lot of small time landlords had a lot of vacant space, they rented a lot of these locations that were smoke shops slash delis that were selling legal gummies and CBDs. They were all legal. I don't think that anyone was prepared for all of those places to turn into dealerships where they would deal in the weed. I don't think anybody expected that. I'm not telling you everybody was innocent on the landlord side, but these were a lot of landlords who were left vacant and they needed income. So they took these guys in. At the same time, the city and the state were legalizing cannabis sales. And when that whole process was a nightmare, you can read about it in the papers. It's gotten better now, but it took a long while to get that process in order. And then once that did, they started cleaning it up. And, Mayor Adams and whoever went out and locked up a lot of these cannabis guys. By the way, they made news. They closed probably about, 400 or 500 of like 3,000. But all of a sudden, you don't hear about it anymore. That's a separate subject for a separate day. But so they're still around. On the legal side, the OCM, the Office of Cannabis Management, they have rules and regs. You need to stay away from houses of worship. You need to stay away from schools, certain distances, similar to liquor licenses. And then they fill out applications, they pass a test or whatever it is, and then they go out and do it. So now I think they're up to about 20, 25 open legal cannabis dispensaries. Their first report was $1 billion in gross revenue. So the city's hyped up on that, and now they're going to loosen up the reins a little bit and try to get some more of them going. So they're here to stay, and there's more to come.
Okay. This is a good practical question. How do you get paid in another state if you're not licensed in it?
Um, it's hard. It's a little hard. You need relationships, and you try your best to sign off on you being a consultant, and so then you can get your fee. If you're dealing with a larger company in another state, they have some problems. They have problems with that. So like a CBRE in North Carolina, they're not going to go for the consultant thing. And so you're going to have to work. I don't have a direct answer, but you're going to have to find some connects down there and figure out how to get paid that way. I fortunately, I've built you know, a network of people in a lot of states. So we figure that stuff out, but it's not that easy.
Okay. Um, so I included our contact information just again on the bottom. Appreciate your time, Corey. Any last words?
No, look, retail is it's a process, but it's fun. I enjoy it. Again, I'm doing it for a long time. You learn something new every single day. Every business is different. If you want to get into that business, I'll be happy to have a chat with you offline. You can reach out to me. Happy to talk about it. Whoever asks about learning the business, you want to be an intern of some sort, we could talk about that too. Retail's good. Retail is valuable. It's valuable. So keep an eye on it, and you guys can help all of the people that you represent by understanding it. And if you have any further questions, please, again, don't hesitate to reach out.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks everybody for joining. Have a good day. The sun's out. and we'll talk soon.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.